Hey everyone, and welcome to a new podcast, Stitching Tales. I am Johanna Lundström, and
I am Malena Hjerpe.
And we are the co-authors of the book Fit for Knit, which is about how to sew and fit your knit garments. And we also love to sew, we love to talk about sewing, and we also love to talk about running sewing businesses. So we thought, why not make a podcast about all the things that are going on in our lives and also address different sewing topics. So we're a little bit nervous today, right, Malena, because this is the first podcast episode.
Yeah, first time speaking into a mic, so it's really, it's a bit nervous.
And I think a lot of listeners already know some things about us, but perhaps we should do a little bit of an introduction. We can start with you, Malena.
Yeah, I work as a pattern maker. I've been working as a freelancer for the last 5 years, and I've been working with pattern making for about 15 years. And 5 years ago, I started to create my own PDF pattern as well. It's really fun because then I discovered the home sewing world again. I used to sew a lot when I was younger, but then when I started studying this, I kind of lost it as a hobby. And so it's really fun to be back in the home sewing world again. And first time I can call myself author with a book. So fun to do a project with you as well.
Yes, this was definitely one of my most amazing and most enjoyable projects. Just like Malena, I also have a background in sewing, but more sewing than pattern making. And I've authored 4 books about sewing so far, and that's also how me and Malena met, because we connected over the internet, so to speak. But we both live in Sweden, which I think makes us a little bit different as well, because obviously a lot of sewing podcasts are made in English-speaking countries. English is not our first language, but we will definitely do our best to make ourselves understandable. And my background is in sewing primarily. I've been sewing for about 40 years now, I think. I started when I was 11 and I'm 51 now. And I have been creating sewing content and sewing tutorials, making sewing books, sewing videos, and all things sewing educational and sewing patterns for about, it's almost going on 20 years now. I think I started back in 2003 or 2004, and I started blogging in 2008. So I've also, unlike Malena, I have been part of the home sewing community for a long time. And so we basically met, mixing both the home sewing perspective and the professional perspective, which is also what we brought into our book, Fit for Knits. So we have become fast friends, and we chat a lot, and so we thought, why not start chatting and recording as well, because there's so much stuff to talk about when it comes to sewing, and hopefully some of you will also find the things that we talk about interesting and hopefully a bit helpful.
Yeah, and I was really sad after we finished the book. I was like, but are we not going to have our weekly catch-up anymore? No! So it's well, then this is a great substitute for that. Then we can still talk and catch up and discuss different topics, because there are so many interesting things to talk about when it comes to sewing and pattern making and drafting and everything. So it's I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, so thank you for tuning in today. And this episode is going to be a bit of a catch-up, because we're going to take you behind the scenes of what's going on when you're running a sewing business, all the nitty-gritty stuff. Some are a little bit challenging, some are very fun, and so we're just going to do a little catch-up now and talk about what's going on in our sewing business life primarily. So Malena, what's going on for you?
Well, right now I'm actually doing a pattern test for my next pattern. It's called Malvati. And it's going to be a free pattern, so I'm really looking forward to that. And it's going to be you get it when you sign up to my newsletter, which I'm also going to get. I don't have it yet, so I'm going to ask you for help how to set that up. And I'm starting to read a little bit feedback now for the tests and things. And while I wait, I'm actually already started on my next pattern. I have so many ideas right now. I just want to get going on them. So yeah, a lot is going on. Oh yeah, I changed my name. I used to be called the pattern line was called Pattern by Malena, but I changed it to Hazelhen. So it's it's a lot of things going on right now. How about you? What's going on with you?
Yes, I'm also on the basically starting up a lot of different projects, which also always makes me completely overwhelmed. So I end up doing a little thing of everything, and then I feel kind of frustrated because I don't really make much progress. So right now, I've actually just took a bit of a break from sewing content creation because that can be really exhausting, especially when you've done like a big project like we did with the book. So I've been taking a little bit easier lately, doing a lot of admin work. Right now, I am focusing mostly on creating more content again. Actually, I've been doing lots of blog posts recently because I just fell in love with the blog again. I think the blog is probably has been like the thing that I've enjoyed the most over the years. Sometimes I can feel a little bit overwhelmed by all the channels that I have to be like present on. So that can be a bit overwhelming and I tend to get a bit burned out. But when I'm blogging, that feels very much like my own safe space, so to speak. So I've been sewing a pair of pants and I've been documenting all the steps and trying to create tutorials for that. So I've done one so far. And the next one is going to be like, hopefully, the ultimate guide to sewing a pair of zippers on a pair of trousers, which is like a dressier trousers, which definitely is quite difficult. And in my opinion, a lot of sewing instructions, they don't really do it well. They don't do a great job of explaining it. So it becomes quite tricky. So I've been basically like experimenting with different methods on the pants that I'm actually wearing today, but you can't see because obviously it's a podcast. So that's something I've been working on, really like falling in love again with teaching really good techniques. And I also did a tutorial about how to line your pockets with using like a garment industry technique that minimize a lot of bulk. And also I am working on how to sew a really nice, beautiful curved waistband, which again, I find really difficult when you're making dressier pants. So it's been a lot of ripping and re-sewing, ripping, and taking lots of photos. I'm also going to do some reels. So that's like the thing behind the scenes, right? Because sometimes sewing becomes content creation as well. So sewing a pair of pants can take like a week because I'm also stopping, photographing, documenting, filming, all those kind of stuff. So it's a little bit different to sew when you're also making content, which is kind of what I sometimes struggle with. But I feel really, really good about this tutorial series, and I'm also going to do a newsletter for that particular, where I collect all the tutorials that I'm currently working on. So hopefully that can be helpful moving forward for people.
That sounds nice. And I've seen pictures of the trousers. It's really, really nice. Like the perfect office trousers. They look really, really, really nice. But are they different, the making on the zip? Are they different from jeans zip? Haven't you written about that in your other book?
Yes, exactly. I'm using a very similar method where you don't sew the legs first. You just sew just the first couple of the seam on the front crotch. So you sew the front pieces together and then you insert the zip. So you insert the zip on the flat. You don't sew two legs and then you try to squeeze in the zipper. So if you sew it on the flat like you do with jeans, it's much easier. So the method is quite similar to the jeans tutorial, but there are a few things that are a little bit different as well because of the top stitching is a little bit different. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on. It's a little bit nerve-wracking sometimes sharing the kind of tutorials because people have all kind of ideas on how to do it best, and mine is just one version, I think. But I do think that hopefully it's going to be really, really useful because the zipper is in the front, so it's very visible if it doesn't work out nice.
Yeah, but that's, I think, also it's important to remember that you can do things in different ways and still get the same result. And you need to figure out what's best for you and what's workable for you and just what you remember how to do it. If so you can do it differently. It's not just one way, it's the only right way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so good about having all these resources that we have today online, and also books and videos, that we are able to find a method that best suits our personal style and our experience level. And it's very different, as you say, Malena. It's not everyone. There is no perfect way. I always try to figure out ways that are fairly easy to do, even if you aren't an experienced sewist, if you just follow the steps. But again, practice also makes you better. So not everyone will succeed the first time when it comes to sewing. I think we can both agree on that it's not but do you feel, now that you are making new patterns, do you feel pressure when you're sewing the samples, that you're going to take photos, that they will look like pristine, or can you relax with that?
Well, to be honest, I'm really bad at documenting what I do. Because of, well, previous I had the excuse that my phone was really, really old, so I mean the pictures were horrible. Now I got a new phone, so I don't have that excuse anymore. But now the lighting is not really good when I sew, and I just want to focus on sewing, to do it quick, because I want to focus on getting the pattern ready. So I'm really bad at actually documenting. I don't have like a proper routine or setup or how to do it yet. Yeah, that's on my to-do list to figure out, because right now, I mean, I'm just sewing and focusing on like testing the samples. I haven't really taken any pictures at all, to be honest. So yeah, that will come, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely a challenge, I think, for everyone, is doing both things, both creating things and also documenting it, because documenting is one of the biggest visibility tools that we need to create content for our different channels. So it's definitely hard sometimes for the brain to switch on and off, and also because sewing is so nice to be totally focused on. So it's difficult if you have to start and stop all the time to take photos.
But don't you forget to, when you have done a couple of steps, oh shoot, I forgot to actually take the photos. Does that happen to you, or?
Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot. Sometimes it's very frustrating. I actually now when I do tutorials, I also make illustrations in Illustrator, like technical illustrations. So sometimes if I forget to document a step, I draft it in Illustrator instead. So I do it like that.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, and I also, right now, before my first patterns, I had photos in the sewing instructions, but now I changed as well to do illustrations in Illustrator, and I found that a little bit easier. But yeah, some things are actually more clear on photos. So I don't know. In the future, I think I will focus on making illustrations, but then add photos if needed, if I see that, no, but this is not clear enough. Because I think it's just easier to, with the size and everything, you have so much more control if you actually make the illustrations yourself.
Yeah, and you can also reuse them easier if you're making another pattern. For instance, if you're making another pair of pants or another pair of top, you can usually just tweak the illustration a little bit, but if you're doing photos, you might need to do everything from scratch again to make it fully match the new pattern. I wonder what people think about that these days, because I can think if you're printing a pattern, to me it would make more sense actually to have illustrations, because it's clearer, because you don't know how well the instruction, you don't know how well the printer will be able to show all the details when you're having photos, because the printer might not be that great, and then it might be really difficult. You have to go to a computer or use a tablet or your mobile phone to see, whereas I think illustrations are generally safer to print, even if your printer isn't top notch. That's my kind of thinking.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And the annoying part, when I took photos in the beginning, after I done everything, the instructions, and I realized that Yeah, might have been good to use a fabric that has different like colors, print or something on the right side or the wrong side, because then it's not clear at all on the pictures or the photos when it's exactly the same color on both sides. So it's like, yeah, lesson learned, and that would have been so easy to just change. I mean, obviously, when you do illustrations, you already from the beginning have different colors on the front and the back side of the fabric. But yeah, it was a little bit tricky. Yeah, I couldn't do anything on the photos, and I was like, I can't redo this now. It's not happening. I just want to be done with it.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes when you work on a pattern, there are so many things goes into the project that you're like completely mentally exhausted by the end of it. So the thought of having to retake photos for a tutorial is probably the one that's gonna like push you over. Like we say in Sweden, have the water fill the cup so it's overflowing. That's like the final drop, basically, that you like, no, I can't. I just can't.
No. It's like I rather like add the like wrong side, left side on each picture instead. Like I can't do it again.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so much time for all that kind of stuff. And also, as you know, we say we live in Sweden, so half of the year it's like super dark unless you have like really good like lighting equipment. So you can't really rely on natural light as well. You have a very limited window, and then it's usually like overcast. Or as Malena, she also lives in the north of Sweden. So how many hours of sun do you have the least when it's like midwinter? How many hours?
Ooh, 4 hours maybe. I don't know. Am I exaggerating now? No, maybe more. 5-ish. I don't know. If it comes up like at 9, 10, and then goes down to 3 or something. So yeah, it's not a lot.
Yeah, that kind of gives you. So it's always frustrating. Also, when you're taking like garment photos and stuff like that, you can't really see the details because everything is so dark. And so I've solved it with investing in lots of equipment. So I both have like photo lights and a flashlight and everything, and a really good camera. So because I find it so hard to deal with the fact that it's dark, but it also takes a lot of time setting everything up. So I'm definitely envious of people who live in countries where they have better daylight and perhaps more sun as well, because it can be quite gray as well in our part of the world in the winter.
Yeah.
So the light can be really, 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 really difficult to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, but you have really, when I visited you in Gothenburg, you had a really such a nice, well, I mean, you don't have a photo studio, but you can totally like set up your place to be a photo studio. So that was really, really nice to see. And I understand that you don't do it for just an hour of shooting, like you do it more like you shoot several things or maybe half a day or a day. But so good to have, because then, you can take really nice, like professional studio photos.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I try to do that as well. I have a backdrop and everything. So even though I'm just a one-person show, I always try to aim really high. So to hide the fact that I'm still just one person doing everything. But for me, I love like fashion and photography and everything like that. So for me, it's kind of becomes this vision that I feel like I always want to obtain when I'm doing my own stuff. So I can literally spend like half a day just taking pictures of a single outfit until I feel like I'm ready. And a great thing is, of course, to have help. And I used to have my youngest daughter. She took all my outfit photos and also all my pattern covers, like the samples that you see when you go to my shop. But she has now moved to the other part of Sweden, so I don't have one handy. So now I use myself. I use remote and take my picture myself again. So it's a little bit difficult because you don't really know how everything looks until you see it in the viewfinder.
Yeah, so it just takes a long time.
And what's your process, Malena, for taking photos?
Well, I basically outsource them. I have a friend that lives close by, also called Malena, and she has taken basically all my like cover photos, and whenever I want to take some more like professional looking photos, she helps me out. So that has been really, really great. And she actually, now when I rebranded my line, I also asked her to take new photos. She actually took photos already earlier in the autumn, but I just haven't gotten time to update my Hazelhen tea cover photo. Because, I mean, I really liked the previous photo. Like, she did a great job. It wasn't her fault at all. But there were like crazy drag lines along the neckline, and you couldn't see them when the garment was just on the hanger. But when she wore it, and I mean, obviously it's a tight-fitted t-shirt, so everything gets stretched out as it should. But the stitching around the neckline was too tight. I didn't stretch out the neckline anything when I sewed it, and the tension was way too tight on the top stitching. So the neckline didn't stretch anything when she wore it, and there were just like crazy drag lines along the whole neckline. And again, like when I got the photos, I was like, no, I'm gonna use them now. I can't redo this again. But now, a couple of years later, I was like, okay, now we have a book about this: how to avoid drag lines, how to get perfect fit, how to get perfect sewing. Like, I can't have a cover photo now that has those kind of drag lines. So finally, after a couple of years, I updated that photo. But no, I outsource it. I can't. It's I don't know. It's I'm not that good at taking photos and everything. So it's like it's so much easier to just get help when you need it.
That's very true. I think it's a very good decision to take help of other people to do a better job, because sometimes there's like a philosophy that you should do everything yourself, but it just causes a lot of stress. And the photos that we took, they look amazing, and they're so nice. And it's also a thing perhaps people should know, that that's why when you go to fashion shoot, they have so many people. That you have like you need to have so many eyes, because there can be like lint on the garment, or something doesn't hang right, or there's a stray hair on the garment, or something about the model's hair is like hair is standing up, something is wrong with the makeup. So, and it's kind of frustrating when you do a photo shoot and you think everything is going nice, and then you have, like Malena says, you have like drag lines or something else that just didn't look right, because you need to have persons also checking those kind of stuff, because we have to present a nice looking garment, because that's the end goal also for you that are purchasing a patterns, that you should expect that this, when you sew this correctly, it should look nice. So there's definitely, I would say, a lot of pressure for us to make these samples look nice, and it's just not the sewing, it's also how it looks on the model. So that's definitely, I find that like a little bit nerve-wracking when I'm doing photo shoots and presenting things, that I want to make sure that it looks the best that it can be, so that you as a buyer of my patterns can also be assured that this pattern is constructed properly, so everything will go together nicely, because that's kind of our selling point, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, in the future, I definitely want to have, I mean, more different models, different sizes and everything. But at the moment, it's like, I can't do it myself, or I can, but it would just take, I wouldn't get the nice result and in the same amount of time. So now I have Malena who helps me out, and it's as good as it gets right now. In the future, maybe can have different models as well. But yeah, it's on my wish list, definitely.
Yeah, we always strive to be better and more inclusive.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's difficult, because we're working with very limited resources, both financially and time, and we also have other jobs apart from this. Yeah. So neither of us is doing this full time. So that's also a hindrance in some ways as well. And I think even if we were doing it full time, I think we would both still feel both strapped for time and resources and money, because we're gonna spoiler alert, but you won't get rich. Most people won't get rich running a sewing business unless you probably already know that, but I think we can both confirm that this is true.
Yeah, no, it's a slow-moving train, so to say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been running different iterations of my business since 2008, and I've took some breaks and stuff like that. But this where I started now was in 2016, I think. Then I published my first book, Sewing Activewear, in 2017, I think. So yeah, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And as Malena says, you don't really, you're seldom an overnight success. You have to be like very like tenacious and, you know, like the turtle rather than the hare. And try to be very, how shall I say, you have to be like focused on the big picture, because otherwise it's very easy to get like a little bit sometimes slow down, because it sometimes things doesn't work out, or it takes so long and you have to do so much work, and sometimes it doesn't feel like it pays off. So you have to be like mentally prepared as well, I think, for running a business. How do you deal with that stuff, Malena? If you have something, you know, that you're struggling with, what's your process and how you deal with that?
Well, I try to, in my business, have different legs to stand on, like not put every egg in one basket, or how to say. Because mainly I work as a freelance pattern maker, so I help other companies with pattern making. So this that I make my own PDF pattern, that is actually like very, I mean, financially it's like non-existing compared to the freelance work. I hope this will grow in the future, of course, but at the moment it's like very small. But I've tried different like things to have like sewing classes, and you know, when you try to figure out like what works, what can you do, and but yeah, it's when it comes to the business side, I hate that you're not able to know in the future what, like, how is it going to be? How is the economy going to look? How much freelance work will I get in the next months or year or whatever? That's the biggest downside with having your own business, that you have no security at all. So that's I can't say how I'm doing with it. I'm struggling, to be honest. Like it's tough, to be honest.
Yeah, it is, and that's the downside of having like a freelancing career, that you might feel you can work whenever you want to or whatever, but you have to also live with constant stress, and I think that's reality, and something I think it's very important to be open about, because sometimes you can feel oh, but she's doing what she loves, or he or she is doing what she loves. But the reality is that there is stress, and I've also, just like you, moved a bit back and forth between different solutions. Right now, since about 2 years, I work part-time. So I work 50% at a day job. I work in communications. I'm a journalist previously, and now I work as a communication officer. And then the other work week, the other half, I spend working on the last stitch. So that has been, I think, the best solution for me, because when I worked full-time at a pretty demanding day jobs, I definitely burnt myself out. I wouldn't say I got like sick, but I definitely lost a lot of my energy, and I was struggling quite a bit for several years, I think, to recoup from that. Like working so much, like working every night, every weekend, every vacation on the last stitch, and then also running a day job and having a family. So I think for me now, this is probably the best solution right now. And also having a day job gives me some structure, because sometimes also when you work from home or at a space where you don't meet other people, that can also feel a little bit lonely sometimes. What's that like for you, Malena? Because you haven't had like colleagues in that way for many years now.
No. Yeah, and I totally agree that it's so nice to switch between like freelance work for clients, and then do my own thing at the side. Because then it's like when I do work for a client, then it's like they can be very specific with what they want, and then it's like then you just do it. It's you get very strict frames what to work, how to work, and how to do it, which can be really nice. Because then when you work with your own thing, it's like, what should I do? What is next? Is this good enough? It's like so many questions, like what that nobody's gonna give you the answer. You have to figure everything out, and then you work with the clients, and it's like, okay, I need to do this and this and that. Perfect, and then it's done. So it's really nice to to have both, to be honest. Now I'm actually having a couple of weeks when I don't have any freelance work, so I can just focus on my own patterns, which is really nice because I haven't done that in many, ever. I think I not have these many weeks that I can just do the patterns and work with my own things. But I know that I will have, in a couple of weeks, I will start to do freelance work again. So I know that financial security is coming. So then I can relax a little bit more when I do my own work. But I really like to have you can shift focus, and it's really, I think it's really good for me. But you work 50% now, right?
I do. Currently,
how do you think that is to switch from day to day almost?
Yeah, it's from day to day, and right now I actually work 60%. So I took another 10%. So I have three jobs right now, because why not? But also because of the economy and the world situation is very unsettled right now. So for me, I always want to ensure that I have as much safety as I can without working myself sick. So that's the balance for me. I think it works pretty nice now. I don't do half days. I work full days on my day job. So I work 2 days one week and 3 days the other week. So that works quite well. But of course, I would say that I work every weekend unless I'm traveling. I would say. And if I don't work a weekend, I usually get a little bit anxiety because I feel I don't do enough. So I still work a lot, but I don't work as much as I used to. So I think this works quite well. Sometimes I can feel a little bit divided, my attention. I find it because sometimes when it's stressful at work, I have a hard time going back and work really hard on the last stitch. But the bills needs to be paid, so that's the trade-off. You have to start with that always. I mean, I am a single person, so I don't have any other support system. I have to pay all my own bills. So for me, that's what I need to do basically, because I don't want to lose the last stitch either. So I definitely don't want to go back to full time, because if I did that, I would probably have to stop running the last stitch, and that's my baby, so I don't want to drop it. So but it works quite well, I think, for now. I sometimes fantasize when I'm going to retire in about 16 years, maybe 60, 70 years. It would be really nice to be able to devote more time to it, but I will probably have to do this until then, the two job situation, I think. Unless something magical happens in the sewing business for me.
Yeah, but it's also good, to be able to change things, adapt things when needed. Different life situation demands different things of you, and it's perfect to have the setup you have now, if it's work for you, that you have a day job part time, and then you do the other thing on your own thing on part time. So it's. I think that sounds perfect. It's really, really nice. Even though, I understand you want to do more with your own thing. You're never done with your own project.
No, you never do. There's always so much more things to do.
Yeah.
So for me, for instance, I have so many plans this year. I should also say that for my sewing patterns, the actual construction of the patterns, that is Malena who's doing, and she's an amazing pattern maker. So if you get my patterns, you can also enjoy Malena's patterns making skills.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm actually been a little bit delayed as always. But I'm working on a pair of pants now, a pair of trousers in knits. So it's going to be like a dressier version of a track pants, I should say, that you can sew in like Ponte di Roma and those like thicker, heavier knits that has more stability. So that's what I'm working on, but I realistically won't be able to launch this until the fall. So that takes a lot of time, just, getting everything rolling, and there's so much stuff with the instructions, and I do illustrations for every step. My instructions are very, very detailed. So it takes a lot of time to do everything. So that's my plan, and also... but it will happen, but it will take a lot of time. I've done one video course, which is called Cover Stitch Success, which has done really, really well, which is about how to troubleshoot and use great techniques when you're sewing with a cover stitch machine. So I put a lot of effort into making that video course, and my next video course that I want to make is a complete course about sewing your own jeans. But again, because I'm doing everything myself, and it's going to take several weeks just filming and sewing and then editing. So I will probably not be able to release that course until next year. I've just started to write the script, just like the beginning of this. So
that's going to be your next like big project, or?
Yes, exactly. That's going to be my next big
exciting
project. Yeah. So hopefully that was going to be released in 2025. Realistically, I try to be realistic about this stuff. But and for me, from a business perspective, I would say that what works best for me is teaching sewing. I think there's already so many different pattern companies out there, so it can be a little bit difficult sometimes to find your space, and to have enough people purchasing your patterns to make that like a viable standalone business. I think for right now, at least, I definitely think it's going to be a struggle for many people, unless you already have a strong brand or have a very strong point of view. So for me, I need to have several different legs to stand on to make this a viable business. I have both my books, I have sewing courses, one sewing course, I have my sewing patterns, I also have a YouTube channel and ads on my website. So it's a lot of different like income streams. None is like huge, but when they all different trickle in, it makes for at least a part-time salary for me, which has been an amazing victory in itself. But that took me, I think, 5 or 6 years to build up to a part-time salary.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. But I think, as you said, like focusing on courses, and because I've seen your cover stitch course, I've just seen a little bit of it, and it looks so good. And I really think like, you can find basically anything on YouTube already today, but to have it like that, like complete package, and you just can easily click and search, and the level of your videos and everything, it's like so high production value. So I'm really like, to make it about sewing jeans, I think that would be really smart move. I think it would be a lot of interesting, because there's so many different steps when making jeans. It's really lots of different details. So I think that's a really good thing to focus on.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very happy to hear you say that, and I also agree that also making those like bigger investments in production value and everything is usually quite helpful. I also try to think like leaving a legacy. I want to make sure that the things I do will stand the test of time. So sometimes that's a bit of a hindrance for me, because for instance, I'm not doing as much reels on Instagram because I always feel like I need to like up my production value, so that becomes a little bit of a hindrance. But on the other hand, I also like to like put a lot of effort into the stuff I do, because that gives me a lot of personal pleasure. So it's a little bit tricky balance. I can sometimes be envious when I go over to Instagram and I see other content creators just like, having so much content in all different formats, and I'm like wow, it seems so effortless, but as you and I, Malena, can attest to, it's not. Not even for, even though the reel might seem fun and everything, I think there's a lot of work behind the scenes of these people that are able to create so much like enticing content.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I feel so old right now, but I feel like I missed the train with like technology and just like how to make reels, how to cut the video. And I was like, I'm trying to figure it out, but it's tricky.
It is.
No, I'm working on it. But I mean, I barely take photos when I sew. So to make a reel, then it's like, yeah, I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, you have to wear so many hats, right? I mean, your level of expertise is pattern making and sewing. That's your skill set where you excel. But that's the challenge when you're running a small business like we do, that you also have to be like a video maker, a writer,
social media manager,
accountant, and you marketer, everything. There are so many hats that you have to wear, and I think it's very easy to become when you look always to what other people are excelling at, and then you think you have to excel at all those things yourself, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But maybe a lot of people that create amazing reels are maybe not creating like a lot of other type of sewing work or sewing products, because they are mostly focusing on doing, sewing content, for instance. Whereas both you and I think we are the happiest working on products. I mean, creation. That's our like happy space.
Definitely.
Not to do like consumable things that kind of disappear. We both are like to die. That's why it's so enjoyable to do the book as well. It's 260 pages because we couldn't stop ourselves. We had so much content that we wanted to create and share. I think you and I are similar that way. That's what we love doing. The behind the scene, the big work, not the tidbits of quick moving social media that's today.
Yeah, definitely. And we will definitely talk more about our book, our baby, in some future episodes. But that has been really fantastic project to work on. It's been really so much fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's been an amazing experience. I think we worked about it for about 2 years, I think. And we never lost sight of the project, right? We were able to finish it. That was so wonderful. Yeah. And I have to credit Malena, because with her experience and expertise, and she's a real workhorse, which I also appreciate. So it was a fantastic, so that's so nice to have this continuous working relationship with you as well. And we've been so nice to share different things from our book and share a lot of tips about fitting and sewing knits in future episodes. And of course, if you're curious about the book Fit for Knits, you can find it where books are sold. It's kind of sold out in Scandinavia, unless you go to Amazon. But in most other Amazon, where there's Amazon marketplaces, you will be able to find the book, and also in other online bookstores as well. And it's also, which I have to credit Malena for again, it's the best reviewed book, because I've gotten really nice reviews from other books as well, but we have an average of 4.9. So I think we have like only 5-star reviews and maybe 1 4-star review. So...
And it's been so nice to read those reviews. I mean, one comment was like, I'm an 82-year-old woman that it has been really helpful in sewing for a long time. So it's like so heartwarming.
Yeah, it's
really cute comments.
Yeah, it's wonderful. That's also one of the things that are so rewarding about doing this kind of work. I think reading the reviews, especially when so many have said that they have so many like helpful moments reading our book, and also, even though some was reviewed has lots and lots of experience, they still feel like they learned a lot of new stuff from our book. All these things are so validating, and I think that's one of the reasons why I love doing books, is that you get that kind of feedback which you don't get from a reel, if you know what I'm saying. So it's a kind of deeper, rewarding thing to do books rather than like this kind of fast-moving content. So we're very touched by that. So thank you to everyone who's done the review, and keep them coming. We so much appreciate it. Yes, maybe we have been going now for 45 minutes, so perhaps it's time now to finish this episode. Hopefully you found it interesting to hear us talking about what's going on in our lives, and also got some insights from what it's like to run a sewing business, the kind of back-end stuff that you might not always hear about, and some of the struggles as well, because that's what we're also dealing with here.
Of course.
And if you, the pod is of course available on all the podcast apps, so it's going to be easy to find once we get this out. And do we have anything else we want to tell everyone before we sign off?
I mean, we would love to hear from you. What you want us to talk about? Do you have any questions, any topics we should bring up? And just let us know.
Thank you. So just keep them coming, and we love to also, we have our Instagram accounts, of course, we should mention those as well if you want to get in touch that way. And yours is?
Mine is Hazelhen Patterns.
And mine is Last Stitch. And we also have websites, right? Mine is thelaststitch.com, where you find all the stuff, where I collect everything, and also on YouTube, The Last Stitch. And do you have any other places, Malena, that you want to direct everyone to?
Well, I have a website, patternbymalena.com, but or essay. No, it's a work in progress. I will get one soon. But I sell my patterns on Etsy, so you'll find me there. And I will soon get a newsletter that Johanna will help me with.
Yes.
So it's a lot of things going on. Yeah, but Instagram, you can find me there most easily.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us, and we'll be back soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.